Yeah, yeah. So basically, let me introduce myself first. My name's Kieran. I'm head of engineering here at Pillar and Etherspot. And today we're going to be presenting a demo, well, as much as we can do of TransactionKit and how it all works. And new on board to the team is Taylor. Taylor recently joined us, and he's our developer relations guy, and he will in future become the face of Etherspot as well going forward, and Pillar. So we're really happy to have Taylor on board. He's been here like I think 2-3 weeks now, and he is absolutely smashing it on the ground floor. So really happy to introduce Taylor. And Taylor, do you want to give us a bit of an introduction about yourself?
Sure, sure. So yeah, as Kieran has said, I've only been at the company for this is my third week now. Yeah, I was working as a software engineer before that, but really like the whole communication aspect of the technical side of things. So kind of led me to getting into developer relations, and I was really big into Web3 for the past couple of years as well. Yeah, and then came across Etherspot, and as hopefully a lot of people in the chat know, it's an amazing product. The builder, the transaction kit that we're going to talk about today, simplifies a lot for development and Web 2 developers trying to get into Web 3. So yeah, it should be an easy product to sell to people because of how great it is. And yeah, I'm excited to be working for Etherspot. Hopefully, you guys will hear a lot more of me in the coming weeks, months, years, whatever it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's me.
it sounds good. It sounds good. And we've been working together for like, just a few weeks now, and I'm really enjoying the work that we're doing together as well. And, some might say that this was well overdue, for someone like you to come on board and to just sort of like support the developers, support our documentation, support our products, and, I would say this has been well overdue. So,
Kieran, go ahead.
okay.
Give us the introduction. Give us the sweet stuff.
Okay, no problem. So first of all, can you see the presentation?
We see this presentation.
Yep. Okay, well, let's rock and roll. So TransactionKit, let's give you a quick introduction about TransactionKit and what it is. So let's talk about, first of all, how we ended up here and how we ended up building the TransactionKit library for React. First of all, Web3 development, I mean, it is still hard, whether we like it or not. And for all the power that it gives us and all the freedom that it gives us, the learning curve is still really hard. And why is that? That's because at the end of the day, blockchains are complex pieces of technology. It's all cryptography behind the scenes. And this has translated into just a difficult attempt at understanding it, but then also translating it into code and then translating it again into libraries that developers can use in order to try and leverage this incredible technology. As time has gone by, multiple blockchains and technologies have emerged. I mean, it seems like every day there's a new blockchain, there's a new technology, there's a new way of doing things. And this has just been really difficult to keep up with. If you're just a developer wanting to develop a dApp that does something cool on the blockchain, it could be anything. It could be sending transactions, receiving, it could be writing arbitrary bits of data to the blockchain, it could be sending tokens and cryptocurrency around. It can be really daunting in terms of figuring out, well, what blockchain do I choose? What technology do I choose? How do I get started with all this? And this has ultimately resulted in a steep learning curve. Now, the steep learning curve really is a combined effort, so to speak, of the first 2 points, which is Web3 development and cryptography, and multiple blockchains and technologies. It requires quite a lot of research just to get going, and I think we would lose most developers at this point, and most of them will be like, well, I'm just going to stay where I am. I'm going to stay in the Web 2 world. I'm going to stay with my database, and this is not what we want. We are interested in onboarding the next million next billion users. So, you know, it's up to us to try and sort of like lower this barrier. Various financial commitments are required. Now, we can't escape this, right? Blockchain technology can be expensive to run. It's decentralized by nature. So in order to centralize this data again, to be able to deliver it via APIs and SDKs in a way that is meaningful to humans and developers, to say the least, you know, it requires a lot of time and effort. And ultimately, you know, a lot of these services that, you know, will charge you, they will charge you for these services as well, you know, for the access to the SDK. This is also a barrier because a lot of these services, you've got to start with a credit card. And for a technology that you might not know how you're getting into, you know, or how to get into it, it's quite difficult to justify the fact that I'm just going to put my credit card down and start. Some people are not in that situation, and we have to keep this in mind. So, who is TransactionKit for? This is the big question. We primarily designed TransactionKit for front-end developers because when we started to design TransactionKit, we were thinking to ourselves, well, who are the builders? Who are the builders? Who are the people that are actually going to, you know, get their hands dirty? Who are the people that are going to be writing the code, writing the CSS, you know, the style sheets, building the components? And we thought, well, it's the front-end developers. It's not the back-end developers. It's not the developer operations. It's the front-end devs. So this was our primary audience. Further to that, we designed TransactionKit to be a React library, and so we are targeting React developers. As of last year, around, I think it was like 41% of the world's websites that were, you know, running front ends was built in React. So let me just repeat that again. It was around 40% of the world's websites were running React. Now, this is a massive, massive, massive user base. It is insane how many users this statistic touches. So this was the target. You know, this was our target that we went for. Well, we're going to build it for front-end developers, and we're going to build it for React developers. It was important for us to embrace Web 2 developers. When we built TransactionKit, we kept the current, you know, and the largest crop of developers in mind, which is the Web 2 developers. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be here for a long time, if not forever. And if we're going to bring more and more users over to the Web 3 world, we're going to have to, you know, embrace the Web 2 world, and we're going to have to understand it, and we're going to have to know what makes Web 2 tick and why, and we're going to have to embrace this. So this is exactly what we've done. It is designed to be easy to adopt, and this was really important. This is like one of the overarching things about TransactionKit. It's got to be easy to adopt. It's got to be easy just to get going, for developers to experiment. And the beauty of that is Etherspot does actually make TransactionKit what it is. You know, it's easy to get going. It's easy to adopt, and that is due to the power of Etherspot in the background, which is fantastic. It's well documented. I mean, if we're going to get people to understand the blockchain technology and different blockchains and how it works, we understand that at every point it has to be well documented. So this is what we've been striving for. And importantly as well, to that effect, the language needs to be humanized. Now, this part is very, very important. And what do we mean by humanized language? We've brought the technical barrier down. So even someone who doesn't understand or doesn't know anything about blockchain technology can come into the library, read the tags, and instantly understand what it is used for and why it exists. So, so all these points that I've just mentioned is really who TransactionKit was made for. And this is, you know, we're targeting the front end devs. We're lowering the barrier to entry. We're embracing Web 2. It's easy to adopt and get going. All the points we've mentioned previously have been solved. It's well documented and it's humanized. So you can just read it and go, oh, okay, this is what it's for. So let's just talk about some key features, and there are more on the way. TransactionKit is, it's in the early days, so we got loads of more stuff coming, including more presentations to give. We currently support between 13 chains and more at the moment, because we are constantly adding blockchains to our platform, and we also subsequently support their testnets. So using testnets, you can start playing with TransactionKit at no cost to you as well. It supports transaction batching out the box, so it allows you to, just using React components, it allows you to batch transactions together to all be executed at the same time. And this is useful for example, liquidity pools and staking, or just using, just being able to batch several things at the same time instead of having to do one by one. Zero configuration. So this was an important one. With zero configuration, there is no API keys. There's nothing to sign up for. You can download a library and you can get going. There's no chains, no chains attached. So, this was a really important key factor. If we are going to onboard, Web 2 users, we've got to make it easy to get going for, the Web 2 devs. So zero configuration was a very important part of that. And total design freedom. Now, again, this is us embracing the Web 2 space. This is us embracing Web 2 designers, developers, and what we are saying to, by what I mean by total design freedom is a lot of, like Web3 user interface, libraries, they sort of impose a user interface style on the developers and say, yeah, we'll give you all this cool tech, but you've got to use our user interface components. Now, this does not sit well. We did a lot of research. We asked a lot of people, and the first thing they didn't want to do was they didn't want to use certain components. They want to be able to design your own. So what we did was, the way we built TransactionKit was, bring your UI, bring your design, bring anything you want. All we will do is we'll provide you the kit to make everything work behind the scenes. All the complexities of blockchain, will break that down and allow you to, at the core, send transactions. So we do not impose any design whatsoever. You bring your design, you bring your creative freedom, and we will do the hard work in the background. And of course, keeping up to date with how things work these days. We have React hook support outside the box, with more and more hook support coming soon. So that's great for modern React developers. So now I'm going to hand over to Taylor, who's going to do a live demo of using TransactionKit. So we're going to boot up a React app, and we're going to literally send a transaction. And you're going to see for yourself how easy that is. So Taylor, over to you.
Sure. I mean, I'll just talk a little bit about it. Cool. So as Kieran said, just going to be demoing something very simple today. All we're going to be doing is sending a simple transaction. We're going to be sending some Mumbai, some Polygon Mumbai Matic from one account to another. We can do a lot more with TransactionKit, but just for now, we want to just show the absolute basics. So I'm demoing this in Code Sandbox, and I'm just going to go ahead and create a new React app here. Make this a bit smaller because I don't really care about seeing the front end right now. So to follow along with this, I'm going to be using our docs to copy some code in. So if you want to go ahead and try this for yourself, or mess around with TransactionKit after, would highly recommend going through these docs. They're very useful, and they have lots of good code snippets. So yeah, as Kieran was saying, there's zero pretty much setup in terms of the backend stuff. All we have to do is install this one package, which is our Etherspot TransactionKit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Make sure also that it's updated to the latest if you're messing around with this in Sandbox, as it has the wrong version cached here. Well, then not up-to-date version. Hopefully that should update in a minute. Okay, there, yeah, we're on version 0.0.36 now, which is great. And we also want to import ethers because we are going to be using this to create a provider. So we also want to move or use ethers version 5.4.0 because that's just what we currently support with Etherspot TransactionKit. Yeah, so the two files, there's only two files in this React app, and that's what we're going to be making changes to: index.js and app.js. Start with doing the changes to index.js. We're going to do a couple of imports here, first of all. One importing the Etherspot UI, and the other importing ethers. So I'll just copy this, put it in the top here. Yeah, that's all we need in terms of imports. And then I'm also going to copy the code here. I'll explain what it does once I copy it in here. So yeah, we want for Etherspot we want to be what is that? What's in this? Okay, put it in here. Yes, my bad. So yeah, we want to be creating a random wallet here and then getting a provider based off of that wallet. We basically want to pass this into our Etherspot component so we can create our smart contract wallets based off of this provider, which is what we're gonna do below here. So we have this app tag here for our app.js. We're pretty much just gonna wrap that with our Etherspot UI component. And as you can see here, we'll pretty much turbocharge our React app, and we can use all the great Etherspot TransactionKit functions within it. So I've just pasted this here. You can see there's two values here we're passing in. One is the provider that we've defined above here, and the second is the chain ID. So this chain ID here, 80001, this is for Polygon testnet Mumbai. But you can change this to any chain ID you want, pretty much. Because we're using a testnet here, it'll deploy testnet wallets. But I'll show you later that if we change it to the mainnet wallet, it'll deploy them instead. And that's all we need for our index.js file. Now moving over to app.js, we're gonna do a number of imports here. And I'll explain what they are once I put these in. Okay, so a couple of imports here. These Etherspot batches, Etherspot batch and Etherspot transaction, these are the components needed to actually batch up our transactions and send them. So Etherspot out of the box supports transaction batching, which is really good, which means say you want to stake some ERC20 token, means we can do the approval for the ERC20 token and the stake all in one transaction, which is great. Use Etherspot UI. This is for, we need to get the React hooks out of this for the estimate and the send, and we're going to use Etherspot addresses here just to check the addresses ourselves, just to show they're deployed on each chain. So I think, oh yeah, no, we also need to put in our React stuff. So we're going to use effects, and we're also going to put in use state from React. Okay, and I think that's all our imports. So the rest of the code is just going to go inside the app here itself. Okay, the first thing we're going to do, we're just going to take a look at these addresses, which I said, are deployed on all of the test nets because we defined a testnet chain ID. I'm also just going to change this to say Etherspot TransactionKit demo, just because why not? Yep, and then we'll define a use effect here so this updates properly. Oh, sorry, actually. And in here, we're just going to put our Etherspot addresses. Oh, I forgot a comma. Classic. Yeah, so now that we should have this updated, we want to actually display this on the front end here. So we're just going to add a code block, close that over, and then JSON.stringify our This part isn't necessary for actually building the app, by the way. This is just so I can kind of display what is actually going on with these Etherspot addresses when they're created. So you can see on the front end here, this is displaying all the addresses that were created. So on the right hand side, you can see all the chain names, which means we have deployed, we've pretty much deployed smart wallet contracts on all these chains based on this provider that we've passed in here, which is great. It means we can really easily do multi-chain activities using the Etherspot SDK. We're not going to cover that here, but it's really good. You can see the chains or the address is also the same on all the chains apart from Avalanche's testnet, which is just a little bit different. But yeah, that's all I want to show you there. And then now we're actually going to go into the sending part of it. So we need a couple of things here. We're going to take these estimate and send hooks from the use Etherspot UI. And we're also going to define a couple of use states here. So I will just put in here. Instead of this address here, I'm just going to take a random account I created earlier, Etherspot demo, just fresh address. I'll put it in here and we'll set this to 0.1 because that's the amount that I want to send. And I'm just putting that as the default value for now. Yeah, and then we're going to wrap any of the code, the transactions that we want in these Etherspot tags. So for the example here I'm showing, it's only one transaction, which is why we only have one transaction tag shown here. But if we wanted to say, like use that example I said earlier, we could, include a number of these Etherspot transaction tags, and then they would all get batched up into the one, which is obviously quite a powerful tool. And then I'm just going to get these closed tags to close them as well before I could pick the code in the middle. That was formatted beautifully. I'll just fix this up real quick, just so it's more readable. Okay, good. So yeah, now we have these tags put in place. We can actually put in the code we want. So pretty simply, we're just going to put two text boxes, one for our address and one for the amount we want to send. Oh, I didn't copy that correctly. Yeah, so I'll just tap this in. Okay, good. And we can see this here, and these are set with the values, the default values I had in those use states above. And then finally, we're just going to add the buttons to actually estimate and send. So before we send any transaction using Etherspot, we always want to estimate it beforehand, and that's for a couple of reasons. One, we're not going to return actually what the transaction fee would be here, but we want to always return to the user what their transaction fee is going to be, so they're not hit with some, massive fee, or to make sure they actually want to run a transaction, with that fee. And the other is to make sure the transaction will actually work, because I don't know, everyone's had it where a transaction fails and you didn't think it was going to, so this will pretty much tell you when it will fail. So yeah, we're almost here. One of the things is though that these are newly created addresses and newly created smart contract wallets, so they don't have any funds on them yet. So we're just going to go ahead and use Polygon Mumbai faucet just to quickly get some funds here. Check that's the right address, 056. Yep, that's correct. So great, we've confirmed that, and we're just going to open up the Mumbai Explorer as well, just so we can kind of confirm when that's coming through. That will take a little minute. So I'll also open up the account we're sending it to, just to confirm it gets sent when it does. So yep, there's the faucet Matic received, which is great. And yep, so we're sending to this OX70 address, which is here. So we want to estimate it first of all, check it's going to work okay, and then not long after it, we're also going to click send. So you can't leave it too long between clicking estimate and send, because we don't allow there's pretty much a grace period, because network conditions could change the gas fees by a lot, so we need to send the transaction quite fast after. So if I refresh here, we can see the 0.1 has been decremented from the balance, which is great, and also a little bit more from this is because of the transaction fee and the Etherspot fee. So if I refresh and click internal transactions, okay, it hasn't popped up yet because I guess that block hasn't been finalized. But there we go. So on the first transaction, there's a couple of things that happen. The first is the contract is created. So because this is a smart contract wallet, means we deploy all of our Etherspot contracts to this address. The second is actually sending the 0.1 Matic, the transaction that I've created myself and want to be done. And the third is the fee which goes to Etherspot, which is, as you can see, it's like a tenth of a penny. It's nothing, but that's simply the service fee for using the service. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to cover there. Kieran, is there anything I missed on this, or?
No, I think you covered everything. I mean, the demo went smoothly as well. This is amazing. It went smoothly. It worked. TransactionKit did its job. It was easy to get going, easy to install. You made it look easy as well, which is great. And just out of curiosity, I mean, from your experience, developing and what have you, like, what did you think about this library? In terms of getting to your end goal, which is just sending a transaction. I mean, how was the experience for you?
I mean, I come from obviously a developer background, but my experience in actual web dev and React and stuff like this, to be honest, is a bit more limited. So the fact that I was able to come in and actually be able to work with it easy enough, like I've only been in this company for it's my third week, and it's it was easy. It was super easy to understand. I mean, I understand all the Web3 stuff before, so that was kind of easy enough. Being able to translate that into something like this, an app easy enough to build. I mean, it was a piece of cake, to be honest. Like, it wasn't even.
Yeah, that's great.
Great. Yeah.
I just love the fact that you said piece of cake. That sort of said it all for me. It's like piece of cake. So yeah, that's great. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. So there you go. I mean, I think what we're going to do as well is in the near future, we're going to start doing more TransactionKit demos and just demoing different features, different use cases that you can do. And so we'll be back again to do a few more demos as well, which I'm really looking forward to as well. So just moving on. I mean, what we've just seen is we've just seen Taylor demonstrate using TransactionKit, and actually, how long was that? Like 7-8 minutes it took for you to get through the whole thing from booting up a code sandbox to actually committing a transaction to the blockchain. It was minutes. It was minutes, which I think in this day and age is absolutely phenomenal. We didn't have to sign up to anything. We didn't have to put credit cards down. We didn't need to do anything special. We didn't need to input personal details anywhere. We didn't need to sign up for any services. It just worked. It was zero configuration.
Like, it's so simple compared to I remember when I was first getting into the Web3 dev side of things, and having to sign up through Alchemy and getting your own provider, and having my to put my own my own private key into the .m file. Yeah. Things like this, it's so much more of a headache than it needs to be when there's something like this out there, which makes it so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important to remember that TransactionKit leverages the power of Etherspot in the background. That's why we're able to build what we built. In terms of TransactionKit as a library, because we can lean on Etherspot. So it's probably a good time just to go through our other products as well. And just talk about, just a brief description about our other products. I mean, we've got several other products in the pipeline. We'll just mention the core ones. So I don't know, Taylor, do you want to run through some of them, and I can give you give a description as well?
Sure. So I'm gonna just bring up the builder here. So this is pretty much a React component. It's a nice plug and play solution, as you can see here. It means you can do swaps on it, you can do bridges on it, you can do multi-chain staking on it. Lots of multi-chain. You can log in with your social logins to create smart contract wallets as well. If you want to kind of get a good idea of how powerful the Etherspot SDK is, I would recommend having a play around with this because it's it is really great, everything it offers. If you want to add on that, Kieran, at all.
Yeah. I mean, the Etherspot builder widget is specifically designed for people and developers that really just want a plug and play solution. That's who we designed it for. So in just literally what would be like 2 to 3 lines of code, you can hydrate basically, a widget on any website that runs React, and start, building transactions, executing, swapping. It really is a drop-in solution for anyone that wants to provide Web3 services and access to tokens and balances and swaps, cross-chain swaps, staking, all different sort of various actions can be built one after another using the widget. And again, this is showcasing the power of Etherspot, what we deliver outside of out of the box, and that just shows a classic example of transaction batching working. So, that is the widget, like in a nutshell. If you want a drag and drop solution almost, to 2 to 3 lines of code in your React website, to start offering, Web3 related services, this is the solution for you. So that's perfect.
Yeah, and maybe the other part we want to talk about is just the actual SDK itself. Yeah. Now, this is something I'm less familiar with personally, but I understand it's pretty much the backbone of all of the Etherspot products. I think it's more geared towards kind of people who are a lot more experienced with Etherspot or who want to make a lot more customizations. You want to add to that, Kieran?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the Etherspot SDK, the Etherspot SDK is the thing that is at the core of everything, every product that we make. It's the core of our dashboard. It's at the core of the widget. It's at the core of TransactionKit. It's the core of the Pillar wallet, and it's at the core of your Web3 product, whatever it might be. Because if you want to get as close as you can to accessing every possible feature, and there are a lot of features that that the Etherspot platform offer, then the SDK, is the one for you. It's worth noting that the SDK does have a higher learning curve. So if you already know about Web3 and if you already know about certain terminology, then this is the place for you to start, because if you want to build something that is completely custom, and you want the maximum power from the Etherspot platform and from the blockchains that we support, then go straight for the SDK. This one's for you. You can import it on the server, you can run it in your browser, wherever you feel comfortable, really. So this is definitely the place for you. If you would consider yourself a power user, go straight to the SDK. So that's what I've got to say about the SDK.
Gentlemen, do you want to add anything on top of this? We had a lot of visitors, so there's probably a couple of devs hiding in these 1,000 and a few hundred people that join us. So do you have a message for developers who perhaps have seen the stream, have listened to us? Do you have anything to say to them while we still have their attention? I see some help.
Yeah, I would say get started, like ASAP. If you head over to transactionkit.dev or transactionkit.com, head to our documentation. We've got a code sandbox there, like ready for you to go. Just ready for you to get started. It's fully documented. It works. And you can fork that code sandbox and start creating blockchain applications and dApps of your own on any of the chains that we support. So now the bar is so low, the barrier is so low. Like, now's the best time for you to get in there and start experimenting. And also, just one more thing, We are going to do an additional one of these presentations, and we are going to show you how you can use TransactionKit for liquidity for staking tokens, as an example. So we're going to develop some smart contracts, not as part of it, but ahead of time, and then we're going to show you how to stake tokens into a smart contract using TransactionKit. And again, it blows my mind how easy this was with TransactionKit. So we can't wait to show you that.
The live stream is about to finish. I'd like to thank everyone for joining this. Well, I'd call it a first demo. Obviously, the recording will be up most likely tomorrow. I hope you two guys who joined me today, I hope you enjoyed presenting the TransactionKit and everything surrounding it. We had a bit of hiccups along the way because we had a bunch of people joining in. We had more than 1,200 people in the audience, which is insane. I haven't seen that in quite a while. So I think this will basically be it, unless you have anything else to add.
Not from my side. Thanks. Just want to thank everyone for joining. Thanks, Taylor. I hope we gave him a good introduction as well, and you're going to see more of him in the future, that's for sure.
Cool. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you everyone for joining. We'll be closing down this stages now, so in case you get randomly disconnected, just know it ended. We'll upload the recording tomorrow, and I have one more thing to ask from you before everyone leaves. We are curious to see how many devs and how many regular users are here in the server right now with us. So I left a message. If you go up towards roles, which is next to the official resources and readme, so it's right on top of Discord, you can't miss it. There is a little emoji you can press to present if you're a developer or if you're just a regular user. We want to see what the measure is. We just are doing some research, and we'd love to if you guys can help with that. Thank you everyone for joining. That will be it from us, from our side, and see you on perhaps the next presentation. We'll have an ETA on that sometime down the road in the future. Follow our socials to know more. That's it.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Cool. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye-bye. Cheers.